On a mile-long gravel road, located in Creola, Ohio, runs a stretch of road with strange occurrences. On the left is nothing but woods and a large pine grove. On the right side is the first farmhouse. It has fields that go way back, then woods. All the way up the road is all woods for 1 mile, and here is the second house on the right. Also with fields, going way back. Now the gravel road takes a curve, and maybe 3 blocks comes to a 1-car path leading way back to the third house on the right. This house is unseen from the road. But from the backyard of the second house on the right, one has a full view of the whole house. Now this is beautiful country land out here. But I wonder, does it have a curse of some sort, whatever happened out here in the past? Well, all 3 homes are haunted. I know for sure. I have lived in all 3. Now my story starts with the first house. It belongs to my aunt and uncle, with 7 cousins. They lived here for years. Now school's out, we are coming down for a visit. My dad, 2 brothers, and me. I have a baby sister also, but she has been living with another aunt. So, here we go. We were living in town with my dad and his oldest sister, and 3 cousins. My dad was divorcing my mom, so at the time, this was his best choice. We were by our school and Dad could go to his job. Now school was out and Dad decided to go visit his brother. We were excited. This was our favorite aunt and uncle. They lived right next door to us, before the separation of our parents. Now they lived in the country. We were invited to spend the summer with them, giving our dad time to settle his affairs in town, while he could get to work. We had 7 cousins here at the time, but there was plenty of room in this farmhouse. We were having so much fun out here that when Dad came down on the weekend, he got a plan. The next day he took us with him to look at country houses for sale. Wow, we thought country life couldn't be better than having our own country home. He found one 1 mile up the road from where we were staying with our aunt and uncle. Our cousins were so happy. We would all be going to the same school, and for the first time riding a school bus. What a way to end a summer vacation. We were moving into our very own home. The second house on the right, just 1 mile up the road. Our new home was like a dream come true. We were absolutely overwhelmed with joy. The house on the right was all ours. From the lingering aroma from the white rose bushes in our front yard, to the yummy peach tree on the right side of the front yard. From the right of the peach tree were a row of Concord grapes growing all the way back to the side porch. Here was a water well. We used the water for household use, but for drinking water my dad got it from the pond out back. It had a fresh water spring. On the back side of the house, rhubarb was growing. There was also sassafras growing on that side. Dad made us sassafras tea. So delicious. Behind the peach tree was a great spot for our garden. Dad planted it and he sure had a green thumb. I'll never forget the watermelon. Now around back was a smokehouse with a cellar underneath. And a ways over was our country bathroom, called a outhouse. Further out back was a field and 2 barns. We never did use them, we never had any animals. Up near the outhouse was an old chicken coop. And our dad got us 3 chickens, and we treated them like pets. One day a stray cat wandered by. I fell in love with him. He hung around, so I named him Mickey after my favorite TV show. He seemed to like it, for he responded to it. The rooms inside were much larger than the city houses. We never used the 3 bedrooms upstairs. Downstairs was roomy enough. For a living, Dad had a little sawmill out back. Our automobile was a logging truck. We had a small tractor to pull logs with. We were one very happy family. Soon though things started happening. I was a kid, I never understood sometimes, but I knew I sure would be scared when night time came around. Began to feel like something else was coming around also, and I didn't like it. I called it the darkness. No matter how dark it got. There was a blob-like shape thing just hovering in the room. Each night it got harder to fall asleep. I had to cover my head every night. I even cried myself to sleep some nights. Every night, the darkness. And what was the one dark spot darker than the darkness itself? I never saw it move, but still I knew it was some kind of presence, and it was keeping me awake. So I would cover my head with my blanket, the only way I could fall asleep. So this was the reason I was sleepy during the day. No matter where I was, if I felt sleepy enough, I would just lay down and nap. Now on a nice day my siblings and I took a walk out to the back barn in the wheat field. We did some exploring in the barn and ran in the fields and played hide and seek. Finally I was tired and sleepy. So I just laid down on the soft wheat to sleep. My brother thought I must have went on back to the house, so they went home, leaving me there sleeping. Now it was getting late in the afternoon, close to dinner time, when my dad asked where I was. He told Dad that we were playing out by the barn, so we came looking for me. I awoke to the sound of my dad's voice. My dad looked more alarmed than mad, but I still got scolded. After that experience I stayed by the house. My dad gave me some chores to do that would keep me busy in the house. I didn't mind, I really liked doing laundry. My brother got water from the well and loaded up the washer and the rinse tub. I did several loads and hung them on the line. When I was done, all I had to do was go in and unplug the washer. But my hands were damp or the porch was wet, but when I grabbed the metal door knob I was instantly being electrocuted. Help, I thought, but I couldn't move even though I was shaking, feeling numb, terrified no one was seeing what was going on. Feeling doom, my thoughts kept saying, let go, thinking I can't, somehow I let go. Stunned at what just happened, I sat for a moment crying, but then got up, walked around the house, and went through the front door, and ran and unplugged the washer, and cried some more in silence, while my brothers watched TV. My second crying was from relief. I survived. Now a couple months later, I was about to have my third terrifying experience. My dad had to go out to the woods and cut firewood. So together we all headed down the path. Dad would cut up the wood and we would stack it. Of course I got sleepy, and during our little break the boys were playing, so I just walked over to the path and laid down and fell asleep. I wasn't worried, my dad had to come this way to go home. I could still hear the boys, and some tools were nearby. Now while I was sleeping I had a visitor. Seems a huge vulture spotted me, and dead or not, it was determined I was for him. Just at that time here comes my dad and brothers. This bird was huge and tough. He was fighting with my dad and I was screaming. My brother grabbed me and we took off. After a brief fight, the bird did too. For many months later, our family was doing great. Then, one day at school, we were told to get off the school bus at our aunt's house. None of us expected this to be bad news. This news was the worst. Our dad cut his leg bad with his chainsaw. He would be in the hospital a very long time. We were sad and worried, but thank God he would recover. We would be staying with our aunt and uncle while he recovered. Two less cousins now, the two oldest, graduated, and were out on their own. Being with family sure helped us during this heartache. This wouldn't last long, the cheerful days. The long recovery meant financial problems for my dad. We were going to lose our farm. So, as we went to get our belongings, we said our goodbyes to the home we loved so much. Here we were now, doing very well. Realizing it's going to be some time before seeing Dad again. We were told he was recovering, and we were thankful, but we sure missed him. Our cousins were older than us, so when it came to playing, it was outside for us. So we started exploring. We hiked the roads, found great spots in the woods to play. We were climbing trees, swinging on tree branches and vines. We would slide down this slippery embankment and land in a pile of leaves. I think you could say this was more fun than going to a park every day. Then one day, playing in our best spot, a loud boom of thunder roared. Right before our eyes was a flash of lightning, scaring us crazy. We took off running, like we never ran before. I thought lightning stayed in the sky. Well, that day, it was right inside the woods, just feet away from us. Then we reached the dirt road. We stopped a second to catch our breath, noticing there were no clouds in the sky. It wasn't going to rain. We looked at each other bewildered, and went home anyway. A few nights later, and there it was. I thought no way, but there in my aunt's house, in my room I sleep in, was the blob. Why, I had 3 cousins sleeping in this room, and my sister and I shared a bed. Up to now, I had no reason to be afraid. For the first time I ignored it, and fell asleep. Not very long, mind you, I was awakened by the touch of an icy cold finger. Staring awake with fright, I saw nothing. I covered my head and didn't come out, until the whole house was up. I never said a word. Nothing until we got away from the house. Then only to my brothers. We decided to play somewhere new. So we took our exploring down where the pigs used to live. The fence was still up, and a few pens still stood sturdy. We had a pretty good day going, when we started to hear footsteps of someone coming. We just assumed it was our cousins. I mean, who else could it be? But nope, no such luck. It was getting closer, and closer. And nothing but we could see branches moving, leaves flying, crackle of broken limbs underfoot. But what was it? Anyone could tell it was huge, even though we couldn't see it. This thing was walking right towards us. So once again we made a run for it. Now this was too much. We kept watching and listening, but it wasn't following us anymore. Now it didn't take a rocket scientist to know something weird was going on here. So we stayed close to the house for a while. Just by the curve on the road was a section where our old house once stood. We were told it burnt down. This was maybe a block from the house, so we felt safe here. We made this area like a clubhouse. Our new hangout. We thought. Once again, the thumping footsteps were heading right towards us. Right in the middle of the field, in plain sight, nothing to be seen, but the sound of something big. We all screamed, "Thump, thump, run." And run we did, again. Now this was it. We would be moving soon, so I'm just outside relaxing. I sat down in the field, just across the front yard, on the other side of the road. I sure was feeling good. Only good thoughts were going through my mind. Suddenly, from the left of me, coming out of the woods, was the sound of thump thump. It seemed like it didn't notice me, for he was walking to the right, away from me. But damn! When he reached the middle, that I was facing, he turned and headed right towards me. I stood up and ran up the embankment, jumped on the porch, and ran in, slamming the door. This was the last time anyone seen or heard of thump thump. We will never know what that thing was. If we could see it, the closest I would say, he's a invisable Bigfoot. Now this was many years ago. I just graduated from high school. All these years, and I haven't seen my aunt or cousins. So this summer, along with my sister, we went to visit. A very nice little reunion. My two brothers were both in the army, so we wanted something to do. Our older cousin took the upstairs rooms, with my little cousins, her kids. My sister and I stayed downstairs. We pulled out the sofa bed, got in bed, and started talking. We got to our past adventure stories, when we started laughing about how scared we were. Right when we mentioned the knocks on the wall, we were abruptly interrupted by the loud sound of a rock being thrown at the side of the house. Right where we were sleeping. Now this sounded exactly like a rock being thrown with great force. We stopped laughing, and whispered, "It's still here." We made it mad, we thought. We stayed awake, just to make sure nothing else occurred, then we dozed off. Now today, after my aunt and uncle arrived, we headed out for our usual walks. Taking our younger cousins with us, we were walking and talking when along comes a beautiful red car. They stopped, and it turned out to be the family of the family in the third house that was down the road. Wow. Long story short, I started dating the guy. Faster than that, we were married in just 1 month later. And yes, now I'm in the third house, on the right. Now my new father-in-law was a minister. A very, very nice man. I felt better, nothing evil could happen in this home. But I was wrong. He told me once, while his wife was in the hospital, how every night, something white kept flying around his bed, but it wasn't the curtains. Then it would bang on the bed, causing a big ruckus, until he got up very angry, and yelled at it. I don't know what he said, preacher words, I guess, but it stopped. So far, nothing happened when my husband and I spent the weekends there. Sitting around one visit, I learned about the gun. Out in his field one day, my father-in-law found an old gun. He took it home, cleaned it up, and placed it on the fireplace mantel. Then the next day it started moving around by itself, causing a knocking sound. This repeated for days. Now he took it out in the field. He was going to practice shooting it. It shot a few times, then he said, it unsuspectly turned on him. Getting control of the gun, he threw it as far as he could towards the woods. So out there somewhere lies a haunted gun. I hope nobody ever finds it. Now for 7 months, peace. I was expecting my first child. My sister-in-law told me there were maternity clothes in the upstairs back room. So while I was up there, checking them out, the eeriest feeling came about. I could swear someone was in the room with me. I really thought my husband came in, without me hearing him. Nobody, but something was watching me. It was such an uneasy feeling, I had to get up out of there. After that, nothing else happened. I even spent a week, all by myself, to do some canning. Time went by, and my daughter was born. I was down visiting my in-laws. It was getting very late, my husband was still out, so my in-laws said, "Looks like you should spend the night." It was pretty cold, so we fixed up a large laundry basket. My daughter would keep pretty warm, so she would sleep downstairs, in their room. So now I'm off to sleep, but am awakened by someone stirring around in the kitchen downstairs. I listen a few seconds to see if the baby was crying, no cries, so I thought finally my husband came home. Then I could hear someone coming upstairs. I thought definitely my husband, but they went to the next room and sat down on the bed. I called my husband's name, with no answer. I thought maybe it was my brother, so I called his name, still no answer. This made me angry. Why is nobody replying? So I got out of bed, walked into the next room, ready to scold somebody. When I pulled the string to turn out the room light, I found no body. But right there in front of me, on a once neatly made bed, was the imprint of a person sitting there. I turned and ran downstairs, ran into my in-law's bedroom, which woke up my father-in-law. Looking up at me asking, "What's the matter? The baby's okay." I just said, "There's something up there. I'm sleeping down here." This ends the tale of a mile-long stretch of gravel road, with 3 houses, all on the right side, way out in the country. I think my aunt's house still stands. My cousin says the house is empty. Nobody ever moved in. It now is being used to store lumber. I know the home that was my childhood home, burnt down. My brother and I took a drive down there. We sadly looked over, where our house once stood. Not long ago, I heard my in-laws' house, also burnt down. Struck by lightning, they claim. Really? 3 houses burning down, that's including the one from long ago. The one we used for a clubhouse. Coincidence, what do you think? I'm wondering, any loggers in that area ever hear of Old Thump Thump?